Wherever I am, God is. And she will follow her talk with a meditation. Amy.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Always my joy to be here with you all on this lovely fall morning. I'm just going to actually drink some water. Welcome to fall, where the cobwebs come into your voice and in the corners of your homes. So my talk title today is Wherever I Am, God Is. It's actually the fifth line in the Unity Prayer of Protection by James Dillard Freeman. And there's something about saying that brings me peace. It reminds me of our first unity principle that God is the absolute good everywhere present. And it also reminds me of the truth of my divine nature, regardless of circumstances and situations. That wherever I am, God is. See, wherever I am, God is a sacred reminder that we are never alone, that the constant through every transition and change is God, and also that we have a sacred opportunity to show up, as Jackie Woodside refers to, as our God self on earth. And wherever I am, God is. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the prayer of protection in James Dillard Freeman's words, because I found the story interesting. So it was during wartime. And in his words, he says, "They told me they wanted affirmative prayers for protection on the back page. Among these was a verse from the 23rd Psalm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." And one of the young women who worked in Silent Unity was reading my manuscript as I wrote it. And as she finished it, she came up to me and said, "Jim, if I were a woman in England and they were dropping bombs on my roof, or if I were a soldier and someone had a pointed gun at my face, I wouldn't want to feel like I was walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Can't you do better than that?" And I thought, you want me to do better than the 23rd Psalm? You have to be out of your mind. But rolling around in the back of my mind was a little verse I had written as a prayer of protection at Christmas. I had written it just for Silent Unity, but now it came rolling up in front of my mind and demanded that I pay attention to it. It enticed me to see what I could make of it. First, I took the rhymes out. It felt like it would be more universally received if it was not a rhyme. And then I changed the Christ to God. It had been Christ because of the Christmas prayer, but I felt that if we were going to send it out around the world, God might be more acceptable to more people. So the little prayer became, "The light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me." This is the way we first printed it. Then a line came to me that I felt would make the prayer even more powerful, and the line is, "Wherever I am, God is." I added this fifth line to the prayer of protection, which had first appeared as the four-lined prayer in 1941, but then we reprinted it in 1943. It appeared in the form with the fifth line added ever since. The light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. And then, of course, in true Unity Church form, everyone has morphed it and added to it. We always hear, "and all is well." And at my home church, on the river, we say with quite zeal and enthusiasm, and we are richly blessed. Now, I did not know that when I first attended another Unity church. So when they finished the prayer of protection and I yelled out, and we are richly blessed, I was a little shocked that no one else was joining in with me. Wherever I am, God is. For there is no spot that God is not. And that means that there's no spot that love is not, and possibility is not, and wholeness is not, and any other quality that we associate with the divine. So why did I think this was relevant to talk about? So the last time I was here, I talked about trusting the energy of new beginnings. And I realized at the time that I was trying to bypass the void. Because I wanted to get to that new beginning. Anyone ever been there? Like something has ended and you're like, chop, chop, new beginning. Hurry up. And then I realized that regardless of where I am, whether I'm at an ending or someplace in the middle with the void, which is actually a very rich place of possibility, it's a place where a lot of healing can happen. So it doesn't need to be avoided. Or a new beginning, that wherever I am in that process, or wherever you are in that process, the constant is God, that God is everywhere present. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I need that reminder. I need the reminder that I'm not, I'm not alone even when I feel that way. And when I can look upon some of the disasters in the world, like the recent hurricanes, or the upcoming election, I can question, where is God in the midst of this? Isaiah 41:10 says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God." Did you know that it's not uncommon for folks when they're in a crisis to revert back to their old embedded theology or traditional religion that they grew up on? They kind of go back into that victim consciousness that God is outside of them. Or victor consciousness, where they have to make it happen. Anyone ever been in that? I'm going to make it happen. How did it work? Sometimes not so well, right? Now, we all go through all those different levels of consciousness. We all spend time in victim consciousness. We all spend time in victor consciousness. And vessel, where we know that God is good, but God is still separate, but poured upon us. And really claiming and owning our divine nature. And we all go in and out of those. But having practices and tools that can support us can help us navigate those much quicker, so that we're not stuck in a rut. So wherever I am, God is a reminder of also a second principle, that we have that spark of the divine within us. And that, of course, the Unity 5 principles you will find in every church, it does a little differently too. Whether it's that, God is, I am, or God is that I am, God is good, and that goodness is also located within me. But it's also a reminder that, right, that God, if wherever I am, God is, that means that Christ expression, that spark of the divine that I am, has an opportunity to show up as God in expression, to bring all those qualities that I associate with God into action. Mahatma Gandhi said, first change yourself, and then be that change that you want to see in the world. See, we can make a difference in the world around us. And I think of like Linda and all the work that she does with Angels Answers. Linda is being the divine in expression. She is showing up as love, as generosity, as kindness. As I am lifted up, I lift all those around me. In the words of the Ricky Byers song, God needs us to shine its light as you and as me. So I came across 2 stories recently. And this is the blessing of the world that we live in social media and Facebook. A friend of mine shared on, I'm part of a group called Nice People of Newburyport. I don't know if there's cranky people of Newburyport. Although Amesbury does have Amesbury Squawks, and that can get that way. But this is an example of how we can be God in action, how we can show up as the divine. So I came across this story and it said, "Hello, nice people of Newburyport. I have an older friend whom I love dearly, and she went out for a walk a number of days ago on Broad Street and then had some difficulty. She stopped a young man who she thinks was a high school student who helped her and waited with her until his father came and drove her home." Sometimes wherever I am, God is shows up as a teenager who always, oftentimes get a bad rap for being aloof, right? My friend Bonnie Mason shared the story the other day. She said, "Angels are all around, and today I needed one. After getting my haircut in Newburyport, I stopped to get a Wendy's Bacon Eater meal. And as I drove to the pay window, I had a hard time getting my car to move forward. It felt like I had to go over a huge bump, but finally I paid and then pulled slowly out to the main road. At a stoplight, I noticed a car on my left with a young man driving who was wildly making hand signals for me to stop. And when I did, he yelled to me that I almost had a flat tire, and he said to follow him. Next, we pulled over to a side street. Then out of this huge black truck, this angel stepped, a handsome guy, maybe 25 or so. He proceeded to fill my tire with air and said that he thought that I could make it home. And I'm home now and I'm feeling so grateful." Right? Wherever I am, God is. And that's an opportunity to show up for others. But it's also knowing that God will show up as an angel in our path. Right? He ended up being actually 32 years old, not 25, but and that's the beauty of it. People were able to recognize who this kind soul was and be like, yeah, that's so-and-so. But he looks 25. She's like, well, when you're old, everyone looks young. So wherever I am, God is. Reminds me that I'm never alone. And that I'm never without the power to make a difference in my life and those around me. And wherever I am, God is. So how do we step into that, especially in a world where sometimes appearances can be we can get stuck in the appearances that we see, on social media or in the world. And that's why we need to find things that we can focus on that support us. And I always like to include a how, because that's, for me, that's that fifth unity principle. It's like it's not enough to study the truth. We need to live it in the world. So our practices really support us in that. And I came across this from Reverend Jim Blake. He's the CEO of Unity headquarters. And he said, make friends with the fact that everything in life changes. You say, may this serve as a gentle reminder that everything in our life will change. We see this in the natural world all around us, in nature, in our bodies, in evolution. In so many ways, we create our own suffering with our inability to accept this fact in life. If only we could begin to expect and accept that change is a natural part of the cycle, we would loosen our attachments and expectations, decrease our mental and emotional suffering with life's evolutions, and be at peace with the changes happening around us. Unfortunately, it's just not reasonable or possible to expect people, things, circumstances that they'll remain static forever. May we learn to align with life's flow, knowing that change is embedded in our experience of it, and make peace or friends with it. Right? So making friends with the fact that everything in life changes. Ask yourself, how can I show up as God today? Are any of you familiar with the starfish story? That too has many versions. The starfish story is great. There's an old man and he's walking on the beach one morning after a storm. And in the distance he sees someone moving like a dancer. And as he came closer, he saw this young woman picking up starfish and gently throwing them back into the ocean. And he said, young lady, what are you doing? She says, I'm throwing the starfish back in the ocean. He said, the sun is up and the tide is going out. She said, the sun's up and the tide is going out. And if I do not throw them back in, they will die. And he said to her, but lady, do you not realize that there are so many miles of the beach and thousands of starfish? You can't possibly make a difference. And the young woman listened politely to him and then bent down and reached and got another starfish and threw it into the ocean. And she says, it made a difference to that one. Made a difference to that one. See, sometimes we think that the issue or the problem, whatever, is so big that we can't make a difference. But all it takes is one, right? One small step might make a huge difference in the life of another person. Random acts of kindness. And what I love about random acts of kindness is that it doesn't always require a huge commitment, right? You're not signing up for something for a year. But every one of us has within us the ability to be kind. It might show up as paying for the toll of the person behind you on the expressway, holding the door open for another person. But I invite you into the opportunity to look for places where you can perform random acts of kindness. Maybe it's paying for the person before you use coffee. Or maybe it's just holding your tongue when you know you're right about something and choosing to be kind instead. Maybe it's about letting somebody in on traffic, even though you're in a rush. So I just invite you to be spontaneous with that and find ways to perform random acts of kindness. Pray. Our spiritual practices support us in remembering the truth. And the more we develop our spiritual practices, the more they can support us when the ship hits the sand. Staying prayed up. Praying not just when we're at that 11th hour. Not that there's anything wrong with those, oh God, prayers. But if we stay prayed up, if we pray regularly, when we hit a moment in our life that is a challenge, we've got the neural pathways that we can pivot and change and remember the truth. The golden key, and I brought copies with me today, and we can make more if we need to. If you're not aware of the golden key, it's a great unity tool. It is simple and it is easy. The whole idea of the golden key is that whenever you feel like you're thinking about a problem or a limitation of any kind, you pivot, you change your focus, and you remember everything that you know about God. If you've got, like me, you've got, 100 monkeys in your mind, and they're all assigned to a different thing for you to worry about. Anyone else that? I can't be alone in that, but yeah, I have a team. And they take turns, dee. Well, so when, monkey number 5 is telling me, that I need to worry about something, I change my focus, my attention, and I think, what do I know about God? I know that God is love. I know that God is abundance. I know that God is intelligence. I know that God is beauty. I know that God is life. I know that God is possibility. So, and the more that I change and I don't pay attention to the 5th monkey, and I go back to remembering God, they find something else to do. Maybe, they join a circus or something else. And the more I do that, the more calm I feel. The more able I feel like I can come from a grounded, centered place. Look for evidence of the goodness in the world. Mr. Rogers' mother taught him this because when he was worried or frightened as a child, she would say, look for the helpers. Look for the helpers. I've been following Unity Blue Ridge, and their services online have just been so inspiring. They're located in North Carolina, and they're in the midst of all the area that was just ravaged by the hurricane. And yet the people that have come out to help one another and support one another in rebuilding has been amazing and inspirational. So even in the midst of devastation, there is a goodness that can shine through. Come up with an affirmation or a denial that can support you in those moments. I loved, I almost didn't need to really give my talk today because between the song and everyone's testimonials, it was such, I loved the chant that you sang because it was beautiful, because how often do I carry the weight of the world? How much do I need to be remind myself to release it? So thank you. So you showed up as an angel. You showed up as God for me this morning with that chant. But we can look for even songs, like that beautiful song by Faith this morning. Or even the song that we sang, I am grateful. I'm one with the Spirit. Find words or lyrics or songs or even Bible verses that support you. My favorite is, for I know the plans that I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. Find the things that work for that. And it came to pass. That's one of my favorites too. And it came to pass. Right? So find a verse or find a song, find an affirmation. Either write one for yourself or find one that works and can support you. My hope is that in this crazy time, or what appears as a crazy time in our democracy, in our weather patterns, in the world around us, is that we can remember that wherever we are, wherever I am, God is. And I have everything within me that I need to support me, to support those around me, and to make a difference in the life of those around me. So I thought I would end with that prayer of protection that James Dillett Freeman talked about from all those years ago, that was originally put in there with the 23rd Psalm. It says, I am scented and poised in the Christ mind, and nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. All the forces of heaven and earth now unite to protect, to defend, and deliver me. No situation frightens me. Divine intelligence reveals to me just what to do in every emergency. The angel of his presence guides and guards you. Yea, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will fear no evil, for God is with you to defend and deliver you. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. And the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. And now we're going to go into meditation.